The day I retired, my family took me out to dinner. There were balloons, there was cake. My granddaughter made me a card with a drawing of a man sleeping in a hammock. Everyone was smiling. Everyone was happy for me. And I smiled back. I laughed. I cut the cake. But somewhere deep inside, underneath all of it, there was a feeling I could not name. A feeling that something had just ended. Not a job, something bigger than that. And nobody at that table, not one person, warned me about what the next 12 months were going to ask of me. My name is Danny. I am 81 years old. I retired at 67 after 31 years working as a high school history teacher. I thought I was ready. I had planned the finances. I had a list of things I wanted to do. I had a garden I wanted to tend and books I wanted to read. I thought retirement was the finish line. I did not understand, not yet, that it was actually a doorway. And doorways can lead somewhere wonderful. But first, you have to get through them. I have watched dozens of people retire over the years. Some of them walked through that doorway and found something richer than anything work had given them. Others quietly lost themselves on the other side and never fully came back. Most of that difference does not begin with money or health or plans. It begins with 6 things that nobody ever warned them about before they stepped through. In this video, I want to talk about 6 things that hit people in the first year after retirement. 6 quiet shocks that almost nobody prepares for because nobody talks about them honestly. If you are retired, you will recognize every single one of these. If you are about to retire, this video may be the most useful thing you watch before you do. And if someone you love just retired and seems somehow off, somehow less like themselves, this may help you understand why. Retirement is sold to us as pure freedom. And in many ways it is. But freedom, real freedom, is one of the most disorienting things a human being can experience. When the structure disappears, when the alarm clock stops mattering, when your title and your role and your daily purpose evaporate all at once, the mind does not simply relax. It searches, it looks for something to hold on to. And if it does not find something quickly, it starts to quietly panic in ways you may not even recognize as panic. That first year is not a vacation. It is a transformation. And like all transformations, it asks something hard of you before it gives you anything back. The first thing it asked of me was the one I least expected. If you are watching this and retirement is something you are living through right now, or something you are about to face, please like this video. Because what I am about to share took me the better part of 2 years to understand, and I want it to reach every person who needs to hear it before they feel completely alone in it. Shock 1. Your identity goes quiet. Overnight. People who move through retirement well find a new answer to the question, "Who are you?" before the old answer fades completely. For 31 years, when someone asked me what I did, I said, "I am a teacher." That sentence carried everything: my purpose, my pride, my place in the world. 2 weeks after I retired, someone at a dinner party asked me what I did, and I stood there holding my glass, and I did not know what to say. I said, "I just retired," and the person nodded politely and turned to talk to someone else. I drove home that night in silence. My wife asked if I was all right. I said yes, but something had cracked. I had spent 31 years being someone, and now I was not sure who that someone was anymore. My oldest friend Robert noticed it at lunch one afternoon. He said, "Danny, you seem like a man who lost his wallet and can't remember where he put it." He was not wrong. Psychologists who study retirement transitions call this identity disruption, the sudden loss of the role that defined how you moved through the world. But emotionally, it does something deeper than any clinical term can capture. It makes you feel, for the first time in decades, like a question without an answer. Every day, you go without a new answer to who you are is either just a quiet adjustment period or a day the old version of you fades a little more without anything growing in its place. Start building the new sentence now, before the old one is completely gone. Not what you did. Who you are, a reader, a gardener, a grandfather who shows up, a man who still has things to say. Find the sentence and say it out loud until it feels true. Shock 2. Too much time feels just as bad as too little. People who retire well learn quickly that unlimited free time is not the gift it sounds like, and they fill it with intention before emptiness fills it for them. Or, I had dreamed about free time for years. No papers to grade, no early alarms, no meetings. In the first week, it was glorious. By the third week, I was standing in my kitchen at 10 in the morning with a full day ahead of me and no idea what to do with it. The hours felt enormous. I watched more television in my first 3 retirement months than I had watched in the previous 5 years. My daughter called one evening and asked what I had done that day. I said I had watched 2 films and taken a short walk. She said, "That sounds nice, Dad." But her voice had something careful in it, something she was not saying. I felt it, and I felt ashamed of the answer I had given her. I had been given the gift of time, and I was spending it staring at a screen waiting for the day to end. Research on retirement and well-being consistently shows that the sudden abundance of unstructured time is one of the primary triggers of depression in the first year after leaving work. But emotionally, it does something the research does not quite capture. It teaches you, day by day, that you have nothing worth doing. And a person who believes they have nothing worth doing will slowly become a person who does nothing. Every formless day was either just a restful pause or one more day I practiced being invisible. Treat your week like a job, not because you have to, but because your mind needs it. Block time for things that matter, a project, a walk, a call, a task you chose. Do not wait to feel motivated. Motivation follows structure. It almost never arrives first. Shock 3. Your friendships change without warning. People who navigate retirement well understand that most work friendships do not survive it, and they begin building new ones before the old ones fully disappear. I had colleagues I had known for 20 years, people I ate lunch with every day, people whose children I had watched grow up. I genuinely believed those friendships would continue. Why wouldn't they? We liked each other. But 3 months after I retired, the calls started spacing out. Then they stopped. I told myself everyone was busy. I told myself it was temporary. Then I ran into a former colleague named Patricia at the pharmacy. We hugged. We said we must get together soon. We both meant it in the moment. That was 4 years ago. I never saw her again. My wife noticed I had stopped mentioning my work friends. She did not say anything. But one morning, she quietly put a flyer on my kitchen table for a community walking group at the park. She was too kind to say what she meant. I knew what she meant. Sociologists who study friendship patterns in older adults have found that work provides something irreplaceable: daily, low-effort connection with people who share your context. When work ends, that connection does not automatically transfer. It has to be rebuilt deliberately, in new places, on new terms. But emotionally, it does something deeper. The loss of those friendships is a grief that most people never name as grief. Every month without actively building new connection was either just a quiet period of adjustment or a month I practiced being alone and told myself I was fine with it. Go somewhere new this week where people gather regularly. Not once, regularly. The same place, the same time, more than once. Friendships do not form from single encounters. They form from repeated, ordinary presence. Show up again and again. That is the whole method. If this is landing for you, if any of this sounds familiar, please subscribe to this channel, because everything I share here comes from real life, from things I lived through and things I watched people I love live through. And the next few things I want to tell you about the first year of retirement, they are the ones that took me the longest to admit to myself. Shock 4. Your marriage or closest relationship gets tested. People who retire well have an honest conversation with their partner before retirement begins, about space, about roles, and about what they each need the new life to look like. Margaret and I had been married for 42 years when I retired. I thought we knew each other completely. I thought retirement would bring us closer, more time together, more shared mornings, more of everything good. What I did not expect was that within 2 months she would look at me across the breakfast table and say very gently, "Danny, you are always here." She did not say it unkindly, but it landed like a stone in still water. I had walked into her days and rearranged them without asking. Her routines, her rhythms, her quiet hours, I had filled them all without realizing it. We had a long and uncomfortable conversation that week, one of the most honest conversations we had ever had. It saved something important between us. Marriage counselors and family therapists who work with retirees often describe the first year as one of the highest risk periods for relationship tension. Not because love fades, but because two people suddenly have to renegotiate the entire architecture of their shared life. But emotionally, it does something deeper. It reveals how much of a relationship was built around absence, around the shape of each other's separate days. Every assumption you bring into retirement, unexamined, is either just a small misunderstanding waiting to happen, or the beginning of a distance that grows quietly for years. Have the conversation before the tension forces it. Talk about space. Talk about routines. Talk about what each of you needs the days to look like, not once. Keep talking. The relationship you built over decades deserves that honesty now more than ever. Shock 5. Grief arrives uninvited. People who move through retirement well allow themselves to grieve what they are leaving behind. Because what is not grieved does not heal, it hides. Nobody told me I would grieve retirement. I felt foolish even thinking the word. Grief was for loss, for death, not for leaving a job. But about 4 months in, I found an old grade book in a box. Names of students from 1987. I sat at my kitchen table and I read every name. I could picture almost every face. I thought about where they might be now, and I cried. Not a little. I cried for a long time. My wife heard me from the other room and came in quietly and sat beside me. She did not say anything. She just sat there. And I understood in that moment that what I had left behind was not just a job. It was 31 years of mattering to people, of being needed, of walking into a room and having that room change because I was in it. That is not a small thing to lose. That deserved to be mourned. Grief researchers have increasingly recognized what they call ambiguous loss. The grief that comes not from death, but from the ending of a role, a purpose, a daily identity. It is real grief. It carries real weight. But emotionally, it does something particularly cruel. It often arrives disguised as irritability or restlessness or a flat gray feeling that has no obvious cause. Every day you push that grief down without naming it is either just a hard day or a day the unnamed loss grows heavier and quieter and harder to reach. Name what you are grieving. Say it out loud or write it down. I am grieving the students, the classroom, the feeling of being necessary. Whatever it is for you, name it. Grief that is named can move. Grief that is never named just sits in the chest and gets heavier every year. Shock 6. The first year is also the greatest invitation of your life. People who ultimately thrive in retirement understand that the disorientation of the first year is not a sign that something is wrong. It is the necessary beginning of something new. I want to end with this, because everything else I have said is true, and I do not want to leave you only with the hard parts. About 14 months into my retirement, something shifted. I had joined a walking group. I had started writing down memories from my teaching years, not for anyone, just for myself. I had planted a small garden, I had called people I had not spoken to in years. None of it was dramatic. None of it fixed anything overnight. But one morning I woke up and made my coffee and sat at the kitchen window and watched the light come through the trees, and I felt, for the first time since the retirement dinner with the balloons and the cake, I felt like myself, a different self, a quieter self, but mine. Research on life satisfaction consistently shows that people who move through the first difficult year of retirement and find new sources of purpose and connection report higher levels of happiness and meaning than they experienced even during their working years. But emotionally, it means something simpler than any research finding. The first year is hard because you are becoming something new. And becoming something new always costs something first. Every hard morning in that first year was either just a bad day or the necessary labor of growing into the person retirement was asking me to become. Be patient with yourself. The confusion is not failure. The grief is not weakness. The disorientation is not a sign you did something wrong. It is the sign you are in the middle of something real. Get through it. What is on the other side is worth the crossing. 6 shocks. Losing your identity overnight. Discovering that too much time is its own burden. Watching work friendships quietly disappear. Feeling your closest relationships strain under the weight of new togetherness. Grieving something you never expected to grieve. And finally, discovering that all of it, every hard piece of it, is the beginning of something worth having. None of these are talked about enough. None of them are on the retirement planning checklist. That is exactly why so many people feel blindsided and so alone in that first year. You are not alone in it, not even close. Millions of people are in exactly the same doorway right now, holding the same questions, feeling the same things you are feeling. And most of them are going to come through it stronger and more themselves than they have been in years. You will too. I am Danny, and I will see you in the next video.